This week's makeover features a desk that was given to me by a longtime friend. So it was his mother's, and it is in very good condition, except for the normal wear and tear you would expect over the years. Lots of scratches, etc. on the top, but no big gouges. I found a few places that needed a little filling, but nothing really serious. There's some ink spots, I guess, in that drawer, which we'll take care of. And a couple of the drawers were hard to pull out, but we can also amend that situation as well. Pulling drawers is like kicking tires on a car you're going to buy, right? Whenever I have a piece for sale in my showroom, people always pull the drawers before they pull the trigger and buy it. So of course I start by removing the hardware. Sometimes you choose to paint over the hardware. I'm not going to this time, but even if you do, it's good to pull that hardware off and clean it. Next comes a cleaning with Dixie Belle's White Lightning, which is a TSP cleaner. This piece has a lot of dust to it, and just kind of dirt, obviously, as you can see when I lift the cloth up. And, I want to do this top in a natural stain. And it's a temptation, see, yuck. It's a temptation to sand it first and then clean it all at once. But that just takes any particles that are big pieces of dirt and drives them even further into the surface, possibly damaging it more. So I rinsed it with water, and now I'm using a little bit of Dixie Belle mud. There were some little screw holes on the side. Somebody must have attached something there at once. So there's nothing that needs anything heavy like Bondo or anything like that. Big, strong wood filler that cures. And everything I can take care of with the mud, Dixie mud, which is just a simple wood putty type product. In last week's eco-friendly challenge video, Marissa from Miss Flips had mentioned in her video a product that she used, and I actually purchased based on her recommendation. She got it from Amazon, and she referred to it as the Poor Man's Surf Prep Sander. So you see there's a sponge that goes on your sanding disc, and then you can attach the paper to that. So that allows you to get around curves and edges a little bit easier than you would with a manual sandpaper. So I really like it, and I just wanted to let you know that rope molding, I'm not completely getting rid of the paint on it, and I'll tell you why. Some people might think I'm being lazy. It's not out of laziness, but my thought process was sometimes we remove all the paint and then we add it back into those certain areas to give it a detailed look. But I chose to do the opposite. I thought I'll leave some of that in there. Looks like I need to change my bag. Getting a little dust going there. But anyway, I thought I would leave that in there and then come back in later. So, because lots of times we'll add glazes and stuff to get in those detailed areas. And I thought, why not leave that existing stain in there? And I think that'll work pretty well. do sand a little bit of the detail of the rope trim. I continue to sand, and I change the grit of the sandpaper. I started with a 100 grit, then I went to a 180. The sanding continues, and then I do a scuff sand on the body of the desk. I use a mister bottle after I dust the sand away, or the sanding dust, and then I use a mister bottle just to bring up the grain a little bit and to see if I've missed anything, or essentially what it might look like when I have it stained. It concerns me a little because it's a little spotty, but I wipe it back and then I let it dry and take another look at it. And I clean off the rest of the piece. So when I was doing that, I noticed that there was actually a small splintering in the bottom of the one drawer. So I used some wood glue to reattach that. I tried to clamp it, but there was nothing really to hold on to, so I used some painter's tape instead. I'm pretty pleased with the way the desktop looks. I added some mud where I glued the splintering in the drawer, and we'll let that dry. And the rest of the mud that I did is dry. So now while we're drying, it's time for some planning. I'm looking at these IOD paint inlays. I simply love them, and I've experimented a little bit with some crafty projects on my Tuesday Talk Lives, but now I'm going for it on a piece of furniture for the first time. So this particular pattern is the Chateau. So you get 8 sheets with this pattern that you can use parts that you want. You can match them up however you want. So it's my job right now to figure out how I'm going to place this on this desk. So I also need to choose some paint colors too, or a paint color. So I started out and had a paint color selected. I had selected Dixie Belle's Spanish Moss and also the Au Naturel Voodoo Gel Stain for the top. So I was really liking my choices. And then I decided to start staining the top, so I am using the applicator pad. So what's cool about that is if I use it with an oil-based stain, it's just a one-use disposable. But if I use it with a water-based stain like I am here, I can simply wash it out and use it again. So I'm shaking the Voodoo Gel Stain up, and I'm just applying it to this applicator pad. It's a new bottle, so save myself a little frustration of squeezing and nothing comes out. Always check that little safety seal. But I'm just squeezing a little bit of the gel stain on the pad. I love these stains because they don't stink and they're so easy to apply. So I just begin rubbing the stain back and forth. So you can see where I left the stain in the rope detail molding. And again, wasn't being lazy with that. That was very intentional. And I think when you see the whole thing put together, you'll understand that that was really a strategic move. The stain goes on really nicely, and I'm just doing a section at a time. One spot seems to be bugging me, and I keep going back and adding a little more stain to it, but I think I got it eventually. When I'm all done, I take the bottle and my rag, and I just wipe a little bit into the tops of those detailed areas, because when I sanded there, I did get some areas that were completely raw. So I just want to make sure that everything has some stain on it. So I had a change of plans. At the last minute, I decided to switch the colors up a little bit, and I went with dried sage instead of the Spanish moss. So I was a little concerned if I wasn't going too light on light with the natural top, but I think it's all going to work out. So I just start with one coat and I do the entire piece. My drawer is still drying. When that dries, I return it to the desk and I finish painting that out. I will come back in later and finish doing some detail work on the inside of the drawers. But for now, I just want to get this color laid on and work with these inlays. So what I'm doing is trimming off the excess little border around the design so that I don't have little split areas. And I just chose 2 panels. I decide that I'm going to put the inlays on the back and the sides of the piece as well as the front. This is the type of desk that you can have facing the room. So that would be really nice to see some detail on the front of the desk, or the back of the desk, what's facing the front of the room. So I continue to dry fit this piece on the piece. I'm just fitting it in place, and then I use my fingernail to crease where the line will be where I cut it. And of course I keep inspecting everything along the way. Just want to make sure that I get this right. The paint inlays are not inexpensive, but I think they are a good value. So that's around $40 for this set. It varies, I guess, depending on where you get it. And the thing is, though, you can get multiple uses out of these sheets. So again, with some experimentation, I will have more information on that as it goes, but I've watched some other videos, and each time you use it, of course, your impression is a little bit lighter, because there's actual paint in this piece of paper. So you'll see. So I did, in case you're wondering why I'm now creasing the other side, I actually decided to flip my design and switch papers. So using the opposite side of that design, what would be symmetric to that, and now I'm trimming that side. So I'm taking the time before I wet my paint and inlay the piece of paper. I just want to make sure I get it right. So now I add more paint. I'm just gonna paint this entire panel. This is a second coat, and you apply these inlays when the paint is wet. So now it's time to finally add the inlay. You want to make sure that you're getting the side with the paint on it against your piece of furniture. That might sound like a simple step, but you know, I've almost laid it on the other side before in my experimentation. So you want to press that into your paint, and I even use a brayer to further impress it into the paint. So I got this sprayer again from IOD before. So I am considering becoming a stockist once again for Iron Orchid Designs. I love their products so much. I just feel like it's a natural fit. And with classes and everything, I'm pretty sure that the product would go, after speaking with a few customers as well. So look for that in the future. So that's what it looks like while it's drying. I did both sides. And one thing that I did forget was to mist it, like right after I did that. So I did come back and do it, but I didn't do it immediately. So a couple things in retrospect after I peel these that I will tell you that I probably would have done a little different. One of them is I think I would have used a little bit more paint. The paint was a little more saturated on the right side, so I think I got a little bit darker impression on that side. And also, I would have done the misting right away. But I don't think I did anything wrong. I just kind of have a light impression, which I am totally cool with because it looks to me very worn and vintage like old wallpaper, and I really love the look. So after you let it dry, then you mist it a second time, or you can use a damp rag, whichever you prefer, and then begin to peel away the paper. So you want to make sure the paper is wet so that you don't tear it, because you'll be able to use that paper again. So after you peel the paper, then you want to make sure you lay it down on some paper toweling or something, but with the paint side up so that it dries, and then you'll be able to use that again. That is very satisfying and fun to do, by the way. Okay, I love the way it turned out. That's the left side and that's the right side. Like I said, I kind of like the faded look of wallpaper. Here's how the top turned out, which I think is beautiful. And so here's my front, and I'm ready to start again with my inlays. So that's where I left it for the night. I think we're going to leave it here this week and make this a two-part series because we have a lot of design details left, some decisions to make, and some details to execute. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, how about giving it a thumbs up and also share it with your friends? If you haven't subscribed, you'll want to do that so you don't miss anything. Visit us at LaVintageDecor.company, and on Instagram we're LaVintageDecor, and on Facebook we're LaVintageDecor Altoona. Stay well.